Thank you to everyone for screening Beyond 24 Speed. I guess we'd like every team to maybe quickly share a rundown generally of the production for your short, a reminder of the roles you did. We'd love, just some general sense like how long it took, size of your crew, biggest challenges. And I don't know if anyone wants to start off, or I can kind of start calling people. All right, let's go with um Casey. You want to
Uh,
share? Yeah.
yeah, so my short was part of the LA 48-hour film festival. So it took, 2 days. But I don't think I had like I don't think my job was necessarily like the hardest because obviously like my collaborators who were in LA had to like, go to different locations and film in the desert. Um But yeah, it was a pretty tight crew on their part, and for me, it was just kind of waiting around for kind of like their instructions and their kind of like go-tos on like what type of music they were going for, what kind of like inspiration they were looking to, and kind of just you know if like doing kind of like a crash course of like what they wanted in real time and then kind of going from there.
Right on. All right. And Alanna, and then I know there's some other people. I have just the names of the sort of William and Mary alumni, but everybody as a part of the team, feel free to jump in. But Alanna, if you want to speak to, yeah, sort of your crew size and how long it took.
What's fun is I realized that I think Ted's worked on like a lot of films because he worked on The Mist and then he had a film and then I think there was at least one other one that Ted's worked on, which is pretty exciting to see how much we've been able to do with Ted. But I was a producer and then Anita was the writer, the executive producer, the main actress. Um and then like I feel like every other job she kind of had her hand in. How many was it in total for this project? I can't remember.
No more than 15 as far as the crew is concerned. And sorry for not shouting you out earlier, Ted. Yes, so your post sound was amazing.
I have to admit, I until I like rewatched it for the screening, I had forgotten that I worked on
Well,
it.
I even watched it in like I can't remember when the last screening was that I attended for it. Was it I guess the big one that we had in New York? Was that the
Yeah,
last
that
time?
was it. That was it. I think it was
Yeah,
2022. So it's been a couple
yeah. So
years.
it's been 2 years.
Yeah, yeah. It's funny because when I wrote this, it all stemmed from a dream, and it was that diner scene where it's actually me and my mother is across from me with my sister. And after I had that dream, I just kind of built the story around it. And because it kind of stemmed from my subconscious, it's so funny. It's like when I rewatch it, I'm like, that's why I wrote that in, because it kind of goes back to my own trauma, to my own mental health at the end of the day. But I hope it also helps other people.
Oh, and other questions were, was there any challenges making it or anything that didn't make it in that you were hoping to?
Yes. I think the biggest lesson I learned, or biggest mistake, I want to say this in the most diplomatic way possible, but
Mhm.
not trusting myself with the director title. Um, the person that was listed in the credits had little to no creative autonomy with this film, but because I was so green in filmmaking, I didn't trust myself with that role on paper. And even though I was doing the job already. I was intimidated by it. But hiring someone else only gave outsiders and film festivals like a false impression that this work was theirs and this was my baby all along. So essentially, I didn't realize the assumption of power given to directors with independent short films. Even. So next time, I think if I still need the help, I'll hire an AD instead.
Hmm. All right. Well, thank you for sharing. And
Thank you.
Gustav, good to see you.
Good to see you as well. Good to see you all.
Yeah, you want to speak a little bit about the process of making your short and yeah, any interesting things along the way during the production?
Yeah, and I mean, when I got the inquiry about, you all wanting to put this together, I was thinking of things that were finished and things that were sort of relevant to, where we are now. And that short I had made back in 2015, and really it kind of started as sort of an exercise because I had started learning a new software that does, 3D modeling and rendering and animation. And I was like, well, what could be like a short thing to practice this new, skill set that I was trying to develop, and give myself like a deadline to work on it. And sort of, you know, like I can't remember, there was some article maybe I had read back then that was talking about, robots and like creativity, and that was kind of just the sort of the genesis of like, when will we be able to indis or not be able to distinguish the work that, robots make as art versus humans, or what, what do we classify as what real art is basically. And then now, of course, like with like AI stuff that's out there, it felt like, oh shit, we're kind of close to the like basically there. Um, so I mean, the I guess the only like real challenges was I was wanting to find an artist, and it took a while. I was on Craigslist just like looking for people in the LA area that were willing to like make art, for this project, because there was basically no money behind it, and someone that could actually do like a live painting in a fairly short amount of time. And you had to go through, several different rounds of people, just kind of vet them and get their interest and all that kind of stuff. I met this, one really cool guy eventually, and then the filming of it was all, basically done in a couple hours. And editing was done, within like a day or something like that. Whoops. And then the longest part was just, doing all of the modeling and the texturing and animation of the robot there. So that was basically it. Yeah.
How long did it take in total to do the animation?
Mm, 2 months, maybe something like that. And it was just, stuff that I was doing on the side, like after work, from like 9 to 11 or whatever. So I couldn't give you the exact like how many hours I had maybe put down, but at least it was around that time as far as like, once I had started to when I had just posted it on Vimeo or whatever.
So with the robot, is that all animated, or are there any practical effects? Because it looked like a combination.
So the artist I had, got one of those like green suits, and then, everything that he's holding, like the actual paintbrush, that's
Mhm.
all his paintbrush, and I just, removed him, and then just, everything else, all the stuff that was the robot, like the arm of the robot, that was CG, and then, but I just worked, we did the blocking with the painter for those specific shots that I knew that I wanted
Mhm.
to cut to the robot. And so I had him, move the paintbrush in a very kind of slow, deliberate manner so that it was easy to comp in the robot arm and such. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. Well,
Excellent.
yeah. Thanks for watching, y'all.
Yeah, thanks for sharing. Brian, you want to speak a little bit about Lobsters at Beach Party Point?
Sure. Yeah, well, thanks everybody for watching and coming to the event tonight. This film was kind of proof of concept for my thesis film. So I wrote this script. I'm doing an MFA at American University in DC right now, and I'm just about to start the last semester of that. And my plan is that my capstone film, basically my thesis film, is going to be like the fully realized version of what you saw. Obviously, it ended on a cliffhanger, but I needed a project for a directing actors class, and I thought I'd use that as an excuse to kind of marshal some resources together and try casting actors in the area. And so I reached out to some people through like,
Oh no. Did we lose Brian?
I think we lost Brian. No.
All right.
Although, well, Brian Terrill, I believe he was about to speak out to not Brian Terrill, Brian Mitchell. I believe he was about to speak to how he found his actors. Do you want to talk about
Yeah,
that?
so yeah, I think you use both Backstage and then Facebook has an actors film, front of the camera, behind the camera group that a lot of individuals will see it will advertise opportunities for auditioning. And so yeah, he got a combination of those two different sources for the actors. So good resource.
Excellent. How long was the production? Or-
Think we did. We filmed. It was a couple of days. The first day was actually in the studio, and so right there at the American University there in Washington D.C. And then it was a few days later we went out on site to that beach location there somewhere in Maryland. It was a little small, but yeah, perfect little spot. And so there was actually those very long bamboo. It was really kind of a cool scene where the ship landed and we got out. And then, of course, the beach was like so close by. So, oh, here's Brian now. Brian, I see you joined us.
hey guys, sorry about that. I'll turn it right back over. I thought I had a little bit more battery life than that, but I'm plugged in now. Like I said, plan is that this spring we're going to be shooting a more fully realized version. Brian Mitchell, one of the actors that I connected with online, did a great job. So I'm hoping that those same batch of actors will join me again. We're thinking of shooting in June, most likely. I'll have more info about that soon, cast. But what you saw today, we shot it in 2 days. There was a day where we did the ship interiors, and then a day when we were out on the beach, which was in Maryland. It was about 90 minutes away from DC, the west edge of the Chesapeake Bay. So like as close as you could go to the city and be at a beach. And it was recommended by Ted. Ted really came in clutch. He did not only sound, but he also provided like all our lenses and things. So a whole lot of help from Ted. So thanks.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I know one of the challenges from that one was the beach actually, like where we actually were filming, there's maybe 5 feet of actual sand where the waves would actually come up. So one thing that was pretty neat is we all ended up having to like take our shoes off and basically wade to where we were filming with the gear sort of held above our heads. So that was a lot of fun on that beach day.
Yeah, great job on the sound there with the water because I was, impressed with I would have figured that that location with all the sort of lapping water that would be, much harder to get clear audio than you guys did, and it sounded awesome. And your actors were all great, so I really loved that.
Thank you.
Cool. Thank you. Well, Ted, do you want to speak to See You Soon?
Yeah, so that was also started as a 48-hour film project. So we filmed it and did the first edit all within that one weekend. I submitted it. It was due at 7:30 and I submitted it at 7:29 p.m. Um, but then one of the things I sometimes do is like because we have to really rush to get these 48-hour film projects done. And so I actually probably took like a month of off and on work to do the effects, and the biggest one was the selective color of the blood splatters, because that was something I really wanted to do in the original short and wasn't able to do. And I also did a little bit of editing and a little bit of tweaking the score, and tweaking the timing, because I know for me it helps to actually have a lot of time to sort of percolate on a project, to like let it be for a bit and then come back to it later. And I feel a lot happier with what I was able to do when I came back to that one and revisited it. But also, it was really neat. Like Alanna, you were mentioning, sort of, I pop up in I think 3 of our movies tonight. But actually, a lot of the people here pop up in it. So we had Brian Terrill, Thomas Nishimoto, and Brian Mitchell, obviously in See You Soon. And actually, I met the Nishimotos through 24 Speed, and so we've worked on a few movies together since then. I think that was 2023 that we all linked up. But yeah, it's like this is one of the things I would also just recommend for people is talk to the people you're on set with because you'll make a lot of connections, and a lot of times there's good cross-pollination that can happen.
Excellent. And Jack, you want to speak to your film Whacked?
Sure. Like I mentioned at the start, and as we've talked about a couple times now, this was part of a short film competition. We had 72 hours, so a little more time. Which is nice. We shot it all in one location in my sort of apartment in Las Vegas over the weekend, and edited all. I didn't do any of the editing, but Thomas Curtis edited it pretty much overnight. Really, we submitted it in. It was fun. It was definitely challenging figuring out how to turn one sort of two-room place into, I guess it was probably three locations, maybe only two or so, but trying to make it look a little different, look like an office, look like a room, something that would make sense, while also being able to fit the camera and the equipment inside and have it all look, at least presentable. So that was a bit of a challenge, and it was worth it. I was typing on a Lego typewriter at the start, and I built that whole Lego typewriter in like 5 hours for the movie. That was not a lot. It was actually not very fun because the typewriter is a very tedious and difficult set to build. So, but it was worth it. It was worth it for the quick appearance it made. But yeah, I had a great time on it, and I think it turned out pretty good.
Excellent. All right, well, we can, Ted wrote up some questions. And we can ask a question kind of for each project. But as we're discussing, if anybody has questions they want, we can kind of allow for that to come in. We can kind of keep it casual. But I can start asking some questions here. So for the film The Mist, being kind of a sorrowful, serious subject film, the question is, how was it on set? And was the process enjoyable and fun, or was it kind of a challenge to sort of tackle that subject matter?
I'll let Anita probably speak a little bit more, but I think it's interesting because I think there were moments of fun, but it was an intense shoot. We filmed in 2 days. One day was during the day, and then I think the next day was an evening shoot, and it was also during COVID, so we had to could adhere to making sure everyone was tested, and followed the rules and spacing and everything. And so I think it was, I mean, there were moments of fun, but it was a heavy subject, and I feel like in general, I mean, we had a good vibe on set, but I think we knew the seriousness of the subject matter that we were working on, and I think we all wanted to make the vision of Anita's as true to what she wanted. So, yeah. So.
Yeah, I agree with all of that. I think that the logistical aspects of it were probably the toughest part, and Alanna had a heavy hand in that. So yeah, she definitely knows the ins and outs of what had to go in with SAG-AFTRA, with COVID. We also had somebody on set specifically there to test people. So yeah, it was just a lot of moving parts, but we all got along well.
I think actually the most stressful part was we had to do a meal. And we worked in the diner, which is really cool. It was the Olympia diner, right?
Yes, yeah.
And it was, if you're ever up in that area, you should go to it because it was a cute, locally owned diner. But they had made us food but we realized by the time it was time to eat, it was going to be all cold. And they like I think wanted to like leave for the night. Like we kind of and like they come back later. And so they had to remake all the food and we had to get certain people. We had like a couple kids on set, so we had to get them out by a certain time. The logistics of that was actually like the most stressful part in the diner, I feel like, was just like trying to make sure that and like we also had people separated and they had their own separate meal. Like it couldn't be buffet style. So like I don't know, it was
Yeah.
I remember
I
that
was
like
just watching you guys run around. I was like, oh my God. And it's trying to like stay in the character.
you in character while trying to realize that like I'm running around like a crazy person. But yeah, I mean, it was incredible what we were able to do in the 2 days that we did. We got everything. We didn't do any reshoots, which was great.
Yeah, no.
So,
Well,
look,
yeah,
yeah. I was gonna say it looked great, so obviously worth all the trouble.
yeah. I don't think I've been on a shoot with all the COVID kind of processes in place. So that's that's pretty. That sounds challenging on top of just having to make a film.
Right.
yeah.
We did have a different person in line to play an even younger version of myself. And she ended up getting COVID. So what we did was just off the cuff. We had the youngest person play both roles. So we just kind of aged her a little bit, put her hair down, made her look like a teenager. So we made it work.
Excellent. All right, and for Crashing, Casey, as the composer, I guess, did you compose before the film was done? Did you compose really quickly at the end? How do you handle that under such a short time frame?
I think I was composing during while they were filming it. I started like getting everything together once they like had the script down, which was like very late in the night. And so I kind of was like waiting around, and so they kind of like finally got what they're going for. I think the prompt, the genre they had was like romantic comedy or some I think it was along those lines. And so once that was done, I was talking with one of the writers and said that he wanted the music to sound like the music from Punch Drunk Love. And so kind of I guess the next day I kind of spent my time kind of like listening to the soundtrack and kind of like getting different ideas of what was to come. And so kind of I think while production was happening, I started like coming up with demos and then kind of sending them, but I don't think I heard back from them until they were kind of wrapped in with production. And so that during like kind of the post-production side, when they were like in the editing room, was when kind of there were much more back and forth conversations of kind of like how long the piece is going to last and how long the cue should go, and kind of me extending it in a certain way and then kind of sending back to them and then them kind of like re-editing it so that it can kind of like fit where it's supposed to be. And so that kind of lasted quite a while, until kind of I guess until kind of like when the deadline was kind of starting to become more apparent. But yeah, it was definitely it was definitely kind of like a new because I don't think I've ever had to like come up with something super lavish, I guess is the word. Normally with like the 24 speed ones I do, it's kind of a little bit like a tiny little cue, tiny little like piano work and along those lines that only is like a minute long. But for this one, they kind of the cue kind of lasted up to kind of like 4 minutes, and so trying to like keep on pace was definitely kind of a new thing I learned.
So I've got a question on that. So one, it seems like that in Crashing you go between like reality TV, horror, and romantic comedy. Which of those three was your favorite? And then also because you feel like you really nailed the reality TV soundtrack in the beginning of that. Like,
Oh,
what was your influence on that, or like where did that come from? Because that was really funny.
I think I listened to the Love Island theme song, I think was where I was going first in my head. I don't know if they like suggested I listen to the Love Island. I think they were just like, just find like a dating show theme song. And so I kind of like, I don't really watch a lot of dating reality shows. So I kind of had to like do some homework a little bit in terms of like, what the vibe is. And I was definitely very happy with how the theme song worked out. I originally wanted like vocals in it. Like I was gonna sing, like it was like gonna be an actual theme song with me like singing on it, but like I ran out of time. So like it's just an instrumental. But yeah, that was a lot of fun. But I think the one that I enjoyed the most was the rom-com section song because I got to kind of like, I guess, go all out with like, the strings and the pianos and like the drums and the bass to kind of just uh unleash it. And so like and I definitely very proud of like how the queue turned out. It's definitely one of the my most favorites. Also, it was pretty fun because I got to like write it in like an odd time signature and kind of make it sound like normal, which is, I guess a dream for a composer to kind of like throw a little like little unusual time signatures in the things that I write.
Right on. Well, in keeping with the idea of scoring, Gustav would love to know for A.R.T. It looked like you had a live instrumentation for the score, and I know you spoke it was more of sort of a short where you could test out animation, but what led you to sort of go that direction with the music?
Yeah, no, one of my good friends who, because of COVID, had to leave the States and went back to Sweden. It was a friend of mine that I had known in LA for many years, and he went to Cal Arts to study composing, and so we would always like, help each other on different projects or whatever. And I was like, hey, you want to, like I'm doing this little short thing, would you have time to, do some music for this? And so I kind of just gave him carte blanche to kind of do whatever he wanted. And again, because I just, wanted everyone, there was no money involved, and I just wanted everyone to have fun and kind of just impart like whatever skill set they had into the project, and just let's sort of see what kind of lightning in a bottle situation we could find. And the only kind of guidance I gave him was that, I wanted to have like hints of um, sort of robotic sounds or things that sounded like futuristic, so that like on a rewatch people could go, oh yeah, like the reveal of the robot was like there, kind of hinted all along. And so that was basically the direction. Then he came back, and his roommate was his roommate's a musician, and like did the cello, and his then fiance is also very skilled violinist. So he just had them do the live instrumentation in like this little recording studio that they had in their apartment. Yeah. And yeah, I was very fortunate to be able to have, really talented, musicians to be able to put that score together.
Wow. Awesome. And Ted, would you like to speak to your animation process for See You Soon?
Yeah, so that's it's actually something I found from Apple Clips of called the comic book effect, and it's evolved a lot since then. But basically, as a way to like quickly sort of throw a filter on it to give it that rotoscope look. Um, and it's I've done now probably 5 or 6 shorts with that effect. And so it's not just a matter of just throwing a filter on the thing. It's like I take it, I sort of tweak it. I usually do like 4 or 5 different layers to see like what comes out with with individual tweaks. And what I like about it is it's a way to sort of I don't know, just make things a little bit more surreal. Like for that short, we were also working with pretty limited resources. We only had two lights um, on hand, um, and so that was one way to sort of up our production value, sort of quickly and cheaply. Um, and then doing the actual like selective color, that was actually basically had to sort of not quite rotoscope it all, but there was a lot of basically sort of painting on the frame and then adjusting that with keyframes to make sure it stays matched up through the short.
Yeah, did you do that first rotoscoping? I know you mentioned you took more time with the blood, but for the initial submission of that, did that software or plugin or whatever filter like allow you to have enough time to do that? And the
Yeah. Yeah, no, so we did submit it with that effect on there. And I've actually done that a couple times with the 48. And I've done that for 24 speed because that's the reason why I really love using it. Now it's a filter in Final Cut called Comic Book, and it does take time to sort of tweak it to get it right. And that's why I do the multiple layers, is because if you just sort of throw it on there, a lot of times it does its own thing and doesn't always look that good. But I find with a lot of tweaking, and then I also sort of change it from short to short depending on what the feel of the short should be. So it's a way for me to dial in a look and feel really quickly to something.
Okay. And for Whacked, what was the process for the shadow effects? And was that one of the more challenging logistical parts of the production?
Well, okay, so I mean, I did all the camera work for the film, so I mean, we knew we're making a noir film because we were like, well, what's something that we can make that isn't going to have any synced sounds? So we're like, well, we can do something with narration. What has narration? Noir films, and and the location we were in, just like it felt very like, I don't know, like it could be from like any time period, like before now. So it's like we can turn this into like, so if we put enough shadow in this place, it'll look the part. But yeah, I mean, it actually came like pretty easily in that space for some reason. I mean, our lighting kit was very limited. Just three larger like LED plates and some really small ones. So, but yeah, it was a lot of fun figuring that out and kind of like, just because I've never done black and white or like that chiaroscuro look before, so it was really fun to kind of experiment with it. Yeah, Thomas, I don't know if you had any input on that as
Not
well.
really. I mean, I think that when we were directing it, I mean, we knew the style we wanted. And I remember when we wrote it, we're like, I don't know if this is good. So let's make it look as good as possible. So I think that, for this year, we took a lot of time to sort of figure out our visuals, which like we always try to shoot, visually interesting things. But I think that this year for the 72 Film Fest, we really wanted to, sort of focus in on making sure that we nailed the look and style. But yeah, no, it came pretty easily and intuitively. Doing it in black and white, I think, also helped because then we didn't have to think in terms of color. We were just thinking in terms of shadow and light and painting and creating geometry that way. So yeah.
Right on. And for Lobsters at Beach Party Point, could you tell us about designing the props at different scales with the miniature lobster spaceship and the human-sized legs and the ladder and all the elements that went involved with that?
Sure. So I looked up Lego lobster and I found like knockoff Chinese Lego lobster on Amazon. Currently looking into options for kind of plussing that when we do the update. So I'm open to recommendations. But the great thing about this project is like it's a bug, not or it's a feature, not a bug. If things look kind of cheap. So cost effective is part of the homage to kind of the Ed Wood film production style. And then the large version, though, is a ladder, and I had legs from a colossal spider from Home Depot's Halloween lineup. So I took the legs off the spider, attached them to this ladder, and built like just a small section of red going upward that would be the like belly of the ship.
Excellent. And did that all come together like pretty straightforwardly, or did it take you any time to figure out how to, that those were the right legs or whatnot?
Yeah, it wasn't too bad. Luckily, like I got the little Lego kit first, and then was thinking about how do I make the big one, and I already had the big spider, so I thought this will go well together. What was hard was transporting the legs, because like I built the whole thing, and then I had to like keep it together in the back of a van, and like by the end of the day, it had kind of broken trying to get it back into the van. So before we go again, I got to kind of rebuild that.
Right on. Excellent. Well, I think we want to respect everyone's time. We'd love to kind of continue the discussion for whoever is able to stay on. I think maybe we'll go ahead and make some announcements just about the William and Mary events and get a sense of who's attending. And then we can kind of continue the discussion, or if people need to head out, you're welcome to. I don't know if Ted, you want to.
You guys, I'm gonna head out, but I just want to say I know I'm not an alumnus, but I enjoyed all your pieces and being here today.
Thank you for coming.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming and sharing.
For sure. See you next time, maybe.
All the best with the rest of your work.
All right, and on about those announcements, so we can say that 24. I know we said this at the top of the thing for people who joined. 24 Speed is happening on February 28th. I'll put that in the chat as well. And then Ampersand this year, where 24 Speed will be screened, is happening March 17th through the 23rd. And then there's also a call from Adam and Liz, who run the Ampersand Film Festival, for both submissions for films to screen at the festival and also for workshops if you're interested in leading a workshop for people. So those links are also in the chat. So we'd love to see people at Ampersand and love to see more of your work there, and hope each of you can participate in 24 Speed this year, even if you're in Australia, Alanna.
I'll try, but I don't know.
Especially if you're in Australia.
I think that would be the farthest, because I think that beats Singapore.
Maybe I'll just do something really short. I'll see. I'll let you know.
There's a pretty good history of traveling 24 speeds.
Well, it'd be funny because I would have a hard time figuring out which 24 hours to be in, because like when I there, I'd be like,
I think
maybe I
could
could work it in when she's working or something. I could film something. So we'll see. But yeah, I'll do my best. I'll let you know. I'll keep you updated. But I'm excited. I'll definitely be at the festival weekend though. So
awesome. Looking forward to seeing you there. So I've got a couple. So Casey, do you know, how did your team find those locations, both the house and the plane crash?
I'm gonna leave, but this was great. Sorry, guys.
Have a good night.
Bye. Good night.
I still have no idea how they got the plane crash. I never asked. They just like started showing behind the scenes photos to me, and I was just like, a little flabbergasted. I was like, oh my gosh, like this is a wild set. I mean, I guess if I were to assume that they probably like had access to it already, they were like probably going and being like, all right, we have this crash site now, how are we gonna like use it for short film, for 48-hour film. So I guess I assume that's where they got it. I mean, but like, yeah, still I've never asked.
And then
So for
Jack,
oh, real quick, yeah, for Brian Mitchell, which film came first?
The Lobster Beach Party, and then that's where I met Ted. And Ted said, "I have a concept in mind for the 48-hour film festival." And so yeah, so Ted and I met on site there. So pretty excited about it, and really happy to meet the crew and meet Ted and continue on with this collaboration. It's great.
That's cool. Yeah, Ted, that was I really like the pacing was great on that. And
thank you. I mean, I think most of the credit for that goes to Brian.
yeah, that was great acting and great little short there. Thought it was really awesome.
So Jack Thomas and Curtis, when in the 72 hours did you do the stinger at the beginning?
Which bit? You mean the
Like the aren't we supposed to be making a movie today? Was that something that happened at the end? Like, because that's the
Oh yeah.
flex. That's a flex to do like a little extra bit in a time competition like
Well,
that.
so for the way that the this is the Frederick, Maryland 72 Film Fest, by the way. So the way that that is typically run is teams have to submit a 10-second like team intro or whatever, just
Oh,
like
okay.
intro video. So that's what that is. But yeah, we shot that at the we did almost actually forget to shoot the team intro though.
Yeah,
So
it was yeah. I and we always try to do like something on brand for us. We're like, you know what? Since we almost forgot about this, why don't we make that the intro?
so
So
it was sort of a flex because I think that we finished like rough cut of not rough cut, but like a presentable version of the film. Like Jack said, we stayed up all night editing it. I think we finished it at like 3 a.m. on Saturday or on Sunday morning. So we had
yeah.
a day to make tweaks, which was good.
Yeah, I
Especially
think we
because
ended up
Tiesto
being
got
one
in
of
the way.
the first teams in that this
Yeah,
year.
I was gonna ask, like, are you gonna try to like put one in for like the 24 speed competition? Like a little
Oh,
stinger. I don't think it's required, but like,
We could try.
we can try.
I don't know.
Definitely we're gonna try to make 24 speed happen, even though we're now on the
Yeah.
opposite coast.
We'll do our
Yeah,
best.
yeah. Figure something out.
That's what part-time Bucks does all the time. They're in 3 different cities.
I think and they're all in 3 different time zones too. Oh, I guess not. They used to be. But I think now 2 of them
New
are on the East
Orleans,
Coast.
New York, and Virginia. Yeah, no, that's
Yeah.
all.
It used to be, I guess, is New Orleans Central or East? Anyways, they used to be one person on the East Coast, one person Central Time, one person in Singapore.
Right, yeah.
We'll see what happens depending on what our criterias are.
Oh, the other question I have for the 3 of you. So the shot of the sphere at the end, did it just happen to have that message, or did you put that on with titles?
Yes, that's
Yeah.
that's the opening line of the U2 advertisement on the sphere that they show probably once every 15 or so minutes. I
It's
just
not
happened
15 minutes. It's
longer
not,
than
and
that.
I can tell you now it's not 15 minutes because Jack pointed out, hey, wouldn't it be cool if we had that in our film? So that was the first shot we got because I was just like positioned by the window with the camera, just like ready to like press the button because I was like, I don't know how long we're gonna have to record for the to find this thing. And I'm not scrolling back through a bunch of footage to find it. So, but yeah, it does cycle. But man, there's a lot of ads on that sphere that don't have what we need.
So wait,
But yeah,
Jack, can you see the sphere from your apartment?
Yes, I can at one of my windows.
That's incredible.
yeah, he's
It's
got
pretty
the
cool.
sphere from one window and then like the airport at the
Oh
other.
my
So
God.
it's great. It's perfect for me who loves to just, you know, shoot fun landscapes of Vegas without having to leave.
Um,
And so Casey, you think you'll be making the festival?
yeah, definitely. I think yeah, for sure. I mean, I'm definitely psyched about it.
Awesome. And any other, you all not flying to come to the festival? Probably not, right?
Who knows? I'd like to, but we'll see what happens.
Guess you got to make a 24 speed first.
Yes.
All right, we gotta commit to it.
Well, one thing I am curious to ask everybody is, does anybody have projects that are looking forward to in 2025, and if they can talk about them?
I can. Um, I know one of the filmmakers is pursuing an MFA, and I am as well. And I have my first like proper film for that coming up this spring. Um, so yeah, I guess I can give you a quick rundown of it. It's a horror film about a film editor who is working late one night and he notices something strange in the footage he's working with. And as he rewinds it and plays it again, that thing starts to move in the frame and it's like a shadowy figure and it gets closer and closer and bad stuff happens.
Oh, that's
Oh, that's
good.
really cool.
That's
Yeah,
good.
I like it.
yeah. So that'll be coming up eventually. Yeah. So
It
I'm
feels
excited
like
about
a
that because
feels like a sounds like kind of like an old like an Edgar Allan Poe story, but like for like
it
the like modern times.
honestly it kind of is.
Because I like that story about like the painting and somebody's coming, walking, like constantly moving in the painting, and like the
Yeah,
paranoia and all that. But yeah,
yeah,
that's a good pitch. I like it. I love it.
yeah. No, I think if anything summed up the theme of that movie, it's paranoia and overworking. Um, but yeah, it'll be fun. I have like this old like film editing equipment, like just reels of just scrap 35 millimeter that I'll just be using and throwing fake blood on. It'll be great.
Nice.
Cool. Brian Mitchell, what about you?
Yeah, so I'm just waiting to see what's coming next. I've done some auditions, and I think I did 8 short films this year. Um, it was crazy. It was just a wonderful year, and we kicked it off with a fight scene there at a park, and then we did Lobster, and then we did this 40 hour film festival. So I don't really know. I have an audition tomorrow there in DC for a political satire theater company. So, but other than that, I definitely am looking forward to some films, though. I'm ready to work.
I was just saying, I'm working on this. My thing to announce is I'm working on a script that I'm hoping to get you in, Brian. Um, Actually, about to maybe try to do a first draft after this.
Nice.
Cool.
And what kind of what genre is it, Ted?
So it's a science fiction film. I wanted to basically, it's a sort of a duel between two spaceships. I want to try to
Hmm.
recreate some of like the classic Star Wars style effects with miniatures. Um, and so working through the technical challenges of how to best do that. We actually did do a short that was kind of like that for the 48-hour film project in 2019. And that one, obviously, we had to do fairly like quick and dirty because it was in 48 hours. But we were really surprised at how well it came out. And so this time we were able to do a little bit more planning. We're able to actually we're kit bashing our miniatures from different like model kits um, in the style of sort of those movies of the 80s. So I'm looking forward to actually sort of seeing how it all come together.
Yeah,
Doing
nice.
some cloud tank effects too, which I'm really excited about, which is where you have these swirling patterns that should be neat.
Um, yeah, that sounds really cool. Um, for me, I got like a couple things that I'm pretty excited about this year. Um, for the guys that did the Crashing Moot film, they're for like the past, I don't know, this past year and a half, they've been working on this like anthology short film. I think it's called The Four Seasons, and it's like about it like takes place over, it's like different micro shorts within a short, and like four different stories, and they all take place in kind of different time frames, and each one's a different genre. And I think they are just about done with production. I don't know when, because like one of the parts is in like stop motion. Like it's supposed to be kind of like a post-apocalyptic kind of deal with cockroaches, talking to each other. And so that's like all in stop motion. And so like I don't know how far he is into it. I remember like just when the last year was closing in, I was like kind of reaching out, asking like how things were going, and he was saying like the final part, the stop motion, the final part is like coming along. I'm nearing the end, and he kind of put in parenthesis like I'm never doing stop motion animation again, and so like I was like okay cool. But like I'm very excited about that. I'm excited about the work I did on that. Another one that I did just finish. I don't know if it's coming when it's going to be coming up, because it's like part of like a grad school application, which is kind of tied to that anthology short. So like one of the micro shorts is like a horror thing, and the guy who wrote and direct that one, he asked me to like help with his girlfriend's film school application, and she's like applying to like USC and AFI, and I think one of the criteria for like applying for it is like to make a 5-minute short film. And people are not Thomas is nodding, so I think I'm being accurate. Um so like he asked me to like score that, and that was like a huge, like a very quick turnaround. Like it was like I was like on board like when I was on board like a month later it was all done. And so I don't know when that's coming out. I think it's coming out later this year, but it's pretty cool. It's called Call Earl. It's a horror film, and it's kind of about like a slumber party, teen slumber party, and like this girl is trying to make like new friends, but like things start going out of control when they invite her to do like a party game that like is very sinister. And that was a lot of fun to do. But I guess the one that I'm really really psyched about, that's think is coming out or like in the early part of this year, is like a proof of concept film called Untouchable. It's a sports thriller about fencing, and it's made by this guy who this is like his passion project. Like this is something that he's been like working on for a long time, and and I'm very excited about it. Like I did a lot of wa stuff that I've never really done before in terms of composing. Like I was like really kind of going for it, and I'm very excited about that. He's trying to like submit it into like actual to like not actual, but like to like pretty, I guess, big film festivals. He's trying to like get it into Tribeca, and I think like Sundance is on there too. And so like I mean I'm like kind of like okay, that's cool.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and like the film looks really cool. Like I mean there's like a I don't think this is really spoiling, but like there's like a really cool like there's obviously like fencing mount matches done, and like they look really cool. That was like my audition for it, was like I had to like score over like a fencing match, and like I was really like really impressed with it. It's very he's it's definitely like I would say he like it's like a mix of like Creed mat like boxing match kind of style, but with fencing mixed with kind of like obsession, like in Whiplash, I guess is like a good kind of vibe that he's going for with it.
Awesome.
Yeah, looking forward to seeing that one when we get a chance.
Yeah, yeah. What do you have? What do you got going, Zach?
Oh, let's see. I guess the most realistic thing is I last festival did a work in progress screening for a documentary called Father Spirit that I think is actually going to get done soon. And that's been like 14 years in the making. Uh, I wasn't a part of all 14, but I've been on it for like 6 years now or something like that. So that's pretty exciting, but it always feels weird talking about it since it's been that way for the last several years where it's like, I think this year is going to be the year. But I think we actually reached a narration lock. So that seems more real than we've ever been before. So, but yeah, we'll see. It may not actually get released this year, but it should hopefully be completed. So yeah.
Nice.
But yeah, looking forward to 24 speed coming around and hopefully trying to finish something for that.
So the long-awaited sequel to the superhero one, right?
Oh yeah. Well, yeah, we failed on that one. I have footage that I may one day edit. It would actually probably have enough to make a complete film, but it's hard to revisit failures. I don't know how many of you all have filmed something that never got completed and what your thoughts are on going back and finishing it.
I recently edited together a movie we shot 12 years ago. That
Yeah.
was funny.
Wow.
When
Oh
we were
yeah.
all
That
12
because you
years
gave
old.
up on it, or
No,
Well,
because we were 12 years old and didn't know how to edit movies.
yeah, we just knew how to shoot. We didn't know how to edit. So
oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I'm a strong proponent of going back and re-editing old work because I think you might find something surprising, and I don't know. It's like it is useful, I think, as a filmmaker to go back and look at your old work and have to figure out something new to do with it because you start to realize some of your own ticks and your own stylings when you do that. And so I at least for me, I found that revisiting old projects makes me a little bit more self-aware of how I'm tackling projects in the future.
Hmm.
Yeah, it kind of is what naturally happens when a doc goes on for 6 or 7 years. You end up revisiting your old work and changing it. That's a trip.
What is wild to think about the different time scales that these can happen on because of like 24th be trying to get a short narrative done in a single day or the 48-hour film project. And then you do have these doc projects that literally go on for years and you sort of
Yeah.
are intimately acquainted with them for a long time. I mean, I'm really excited to see Father Spirit make it out into the world because it was even as a work in progress, it was a very powerful documentary and one that's always stuck with me. So looking forward to it actually having its time out in the sunlight.
Yeah, it's gonna happen. Yeah, the worst part is having references from a movie that has not been released that are in your head, but no one else. You know?
Yeah.
But yeah, I also love how many, yeah, all the different timed competitions that everyone seems to be doing beyond 24 speed. Or is that a regular thing? Like, are you guys have more 48s, more 72s? Is anyone getting tired of the timed competition format?
I just have the 148 because this past year they did not compete in it. I think they helped another. Actually, I mean, just the fact that that whole like friend group, like they were helping with another group of filmmakers with their project, which I got to see, and it was really pretty cool. Uh, so like, I that the that is like the only like 48-hour one that I've done so far.
Hmm.
I feel like for us, we have like, we do 72 and we do 24. I don't think we've never really done 48, have we? I mean, we've worked on them, but obviously, but we've never done one ourselves.
We could have done Whacked in 48. That was pretty much done in 48.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, you can stay up until 3 a.m. if you want to do it.
Yeah, you get to stay up
You-
this time.
I will say, having done a bunch of 48s and then doing a 72, it's like that 70, the 3 days feels like absolutely luxurious after doing a bunch of 48s.
Yeah.
We do it after 24 and it feels like, oh, we have everything available.
Well, this is the
Yeah.
thing. Going from 24 speed to 48 was a hard transition for me because the very first 48-hour film project I ever did, I did like a 24 speed and just was like go, go, go the whole time and basically passed out by hour 35. Like I was directing and like I acted in a minor role because one of my actors didn't show up. And so literally I just like in the movie I like take a hit and like go down because like my character gets beaten up and I literally just kind of like passed out and like went to sleep in the grass for a bit.
I feel like 48's the hardest. Because, like, I don't know,
Yeah.
24 is like, it's so breakneck that it's like, you don't really care. Like, if something's not perfect, you're just like, you're trying to
Yeah.
get it done. And then for 48, and like for 72, again, it feels much better because you have all this time. But then 48 is in this weird middle zone where it's like, you have enough time to like make it like to like have it be like I don't know,
Like-
have some like I don't know like
It's
certain
well,
steps.
I think I know what you're saying. It's like you have enough time to worry, but not enough time to get it right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Whereas 24 speed, you don't have time to worry, and 72 is like
Yeah.
you have time to tweak stuff and make it what you want.
Yeah, but I feel like 72, you're led to not properly pace yourself. So I like 72 the least because you feel like you have all this time and then you stay up the first night too long. And then the third day is painful.
I feel like at this point we've gotten a rhythm down. Like we know how to block our time out so that we can do it on time. But yeah, it's like I think the hardest part with any speed competition for me personally is the beginning of it when it's like, oh God, what are we gonna do? And then we figure it out. And
Yeah, like
after that, it's easy.
yeah, like at the beginning you're like second guessing yourself about like, I remember like this the last 24 speed. Like, I think I like chose like just two dissonant genres because I was like, hey, like in the moment I was like, yeah. And then like right after it, I was like, oh God, no, how are we gonna I think I made a mistake. Yeah. So I know what that feels like.
Yep.
I think I gotta run, but thank you guys for
Yeah,
putting
I
this
I
on.
should probably head out as
to.
well.
It was
But
great.
thank you thanks for joining us, Jack, Thomas, and Curtis,
No problem.
and
Hopefully,
everybody else.
some more
Yeah.
soon.
Yeah.
I
Peace.
will see you guys.
Peace.